This is Fedora 27 with the GNOME 3.26 desktop. I made a previous video comparing the implementations of GNOME in Fedora and Ubuntu, so I'm not going to repeat everything I did then, but I'm going to try to cover some additional items, and there may be some duplication. I've already changed the defaults a bit, but I want to show you what I generally do when preparing Fedora GNOME for my own use. The first thing I did is install some updates, and you can see that this notification is still there. Software updates installed 23 hours ago. After I installed the updates, I ran Firefox to see what version it was. And I learned that it was the new Firefox Quantum version 57. This is a major upgrade for Firefox. It's supposed to be twice as fast as the previous versions, without using too much additional resources. However, I haven't had a chance to verify that. It seems to work well, but I haven't done enough to really talk about it in any detail. Just to say that it's here, and as of this moment, a day later, it hasn't yet arrived in Ubuntu, but I'm sure it will soon. Now, the second thing I did was install the RPM Fusion repositories. RPM Fusion. I clicked on Enable RPM Fusion on your system. And as you can see, it already is available for Fedora 27. Both the free and the non-free repositories. However, I prefer to install it in the terminal simply by copying this instruction, which is good for Fedora 22 and later. Right-click and copy. Now I open a terminal. Right-click and paste. Now I enter my password. Press enter. Since I've already installed the RPM Fusion repositories, there's nothing to do. Otherwise, you would get the entire installation. Then I installed the tweak tool. I've made a few changes. I've turned animations off. By the way, with these little switches here, it doesn't matter where you click, it toggles from one to the other. So if I click over here, it toggles. If I click over here, it toggles. Doesn't matter as long as you click on it. On this page, I haven't done anything else. On the desktop, I haven't done anything. On extensions, I did install some extensions, but I had to do those from the website. So I'll show you how to do that in a minute. But I installed the Applications menu, This is the way it normally comes when you click on Activities or press the Super key, which some people call the Windows key. You have a dashboard at the left, etc. Now when you turn on this Applications menu, and this is the category-based Applications menu downloaded from the website, when you turn that on and you click on Applications, you get this category-based menu. Now as long as it's on Favorites, this list of favorites over here is identical to what's shown on the dash. If you want to see the activities overview, you can click down here, but there's another way of doing it. However, if you want to see the activities overview without going to the menu, just click on the Super key, or Windows key as some people call it, and you get the standard overview. So with the Applications menu installed, you get the best of both worlds. And of course, if you want to see the application array, you can click on this matrix symbol down here, and there it is. To get the Applications menu, I went to the GNOME extensions website. But to do that, first I had to install some software. And there's another diversion, because aside from the command line, Fedora 27 just comes with GNOME software, or software as they call it. Now, the old Yumix or Yumix DNF version is no longer provided. Instead, you have DNF Dragora, which was based on RPM Dragora from Magia, which was based on RPM Drake. So I had to install DNF Dragora to get it. And I installed it with GNOME software. But I used DNF Dragora to get what I was looking for the extensions. Now this takes a while to load. I was looking for Chrome hyphen GNOME hyphen shell. And there it is. You can see that I've installed it. You need that to integrate GNOME shell extensions with your browser. Now, even though it says Chrome, it also works with Mozilla Firefox. Notice it says browser extension for Google Chrome, Chromium, Firefox, Vivaldi, Opera, and other browser extensions, etc., etc. If you want to read more about it, you can go to this website. But anyway, I installed that. And then in Firefox, I clicked on Add-ons. I scroll down here to see more add-ons. And then I searched for GNOME. And here I found GNOME shell integration. Now, I've already installed it, so I'm not going to install it again, but you can just click on Add to Firefox. To show you that I've already installed it, if I click on Extensions here, you can see that I have that. It's the second thing I put in. The first thing I put in was AdBlock Plus. Now, it has been said that Firefox 57 will not work with your old extensions. This may be true since this is a fresh installation. I just added the new AdBlock Plus extension and it works fine. And GNOME shell integration. Now you can disable and remove it, etc. There are also preferences. So anyway, that's done. Now when I want to get to the website, I just search for GNOME shell extensions. And there it is. And I've already added the application menu. I should say that I got an error message when I added it, but in spite of the error message, it worked. I had to restart to get it to work, but it worked. So now let me go to GNOME software. The reason I don't particularly like it is it doesn't have everything I was looking for, but it does have some things. And if you want to just scroll through, for instance, audio and video, these are the featured ones. If you want all of them, click on all and you'll get all of them. And as you can see, I have Simple Screen Recorder installed. I also have VLC installed, but I didn't find it in here originally. I actually installed it from the command line. It's in here now because I have it installed. It's been rather hit or miss with GNOME software. Now when it comes to DNF Dragora, it's more like Synaptic Package Manager. It pays to wait for these items to show. By the way, I have selected here Show x86 64 and no arch only, and the reason for that is it doesn't differentiate between the 64-bit and the 32-bit applications. So if you don't have this clicked, you're likely to get two items which are indistinguishable from each other, but one is 64 bits and one is 32 bits. GNOME shell extension. But as you can see, in this case, I have two anyway, even though I've selected Show x86 64 and no arch only. I get two of everything. Two of this, two of this, two of this. This doesn't appear to be working very well, and but only one of them is checked. So I don't have them both installed. So it appears to me that the second entry is a 64-bit and the first entry is the 32-bit. I would say one big improvement to this was if they would designate which is 64-bit and which is 32-bit, and the full file names of these things do designate it. You can't even find it down here. It doesn't say anything about 64-bit or 32-bit. So that's a problem with DNF Dragora that they really need to fix. Now if I look under File Repositories, you can see that in addition to the Fedora repository, I have the RPM Fusion free repository. I also have the RPM Fusion free updates, the RPM Fusion non-free repository, and the RPM Fusion non-free updates. And then I have regular Fedora updates. Now there's one up on the top here that I haven't checked, and that's the Fedora Cisco Open H.264 codec, which I think would be very useful to have, but I just haven't installed it yet. I'm going to click on the super key to get the regular overview here, and then click on Show Applications. It's just to take a quick look at what we have. It's GNOME boxes, the calculator, calendar, cheese, clocks, contacts, DNF Dragora, which I installed, documents, evolution, files, Firefox, LibreOffice Calc, LibreOffice something. You can't see the entire file name again. Looks like LibreOffice Draw. Looks like the Presentation Manager. This is LibreOffice Writer. Comes with maps. That's GNOME Maps, not Google Maps. Rhythmbox Settings. And of course you can also get settings up here at the right by clicking down here. Shotwell, Simple Scan, Simple Screen Recorder I added, but it was in the RPM Fusion repositories. With Sundry, you've only got two items, Problem Reporting and SE Linux Troubleshooter. SE Linux is a Fedora favorite security tool. Text Editor used to be gedit. To do utilities again has a submenu. It has the Archive Manager, Characters, Disk Usage Analyzer, Disks. GNOME Disk is very useful. Document Viewer, that's PDF Viewer, Fonts, Help, Image Viewer, Logs, Screenshot, System Monitor, Terminal, and Tweaks, which I downloaded. Wasn't there by default. And then you have videos, and I installed VLC Media Player, which I much prefer, and weather. Now I have a wired connection at the moment, but I'm going to unplug it. Takes a minute here. Wi-Fi is off. I'm going to turn it on. It's automatically picked up my network. Here it is. So the Network Manager works just fine. Of course, another way of getting that is to go to Settings. And as you can see, my network is connected. I went through this with my previous videos, so I won't belabor these. But in addition to Wi-Fi, it has Bluetooth, but I don't have Bluetooth, so I'm not going to wait for that. And it tends to take time. Here are backgrounds. You can also select these by right-clicking on the desktop background. I like the default background quite a bit, but you have various options. I'm not going to change it. Notifications. This lets you select what kind of notifications you want to receive. And there's quite a series of options here. This allows you to select the search criteria when you use the search bar, which you get by pressing the super key. Of course, you could change your region and language, even though you've already set it once. Under Universal Access, you have a number of accessibility tools. This allows you to integrate your online accounts, but I prefer not to at this point. Privacy, I turned off the screen lock. If you were in an office with lots of people, you might want that on. Location services I left on. Usage and history I left on. Purge trash and temporary files I think I left off. And problem reporting is shown as automatic. I left that on. Since this is new, I thought I would continue to report problems. Sharing, that assigned a localhost local domain name to my computer. And I don't seem to be able to use any of these sharing options. Sound, I'm using my headphones for output and my Yeti stereo microphone for input. One thing I didn't like here is that the only option here for output from the microphone is digital output, which is fine, except that Simple Screen Recorder only uses the analog output. So I couldn't use my headphones with the microphone as I usually do. There is a power feature in the tweak tool. However, this one is much more detailed. Now under network, it has wired connections and VPN. I've unplugged my cable, so I can't do that. And VPN isn't set up. I haven't set up a network proxy. So the final item is devices, and here I have quite a few choices. Printers, I have 2 printers, but I don't have any installed yet. Keyboard gives you a series of options. Mouse and test pad, I have several options here, but I haven't looked at them. Displays, now it gives my correct resolution, but I have a problem there, again, as I frequently have with Fedora GNOME. And that is the Simple Screen Recorder runs off the bottom of the screen and I can't see the controls. Fedora GNOME is the only combination I've had this problem with, and it's happened ever since version 25, and perhaps before I didn't notice it. In order to use this, I've now learned that I can scroll off the bottom and run the controls, but to see where they are, I have to go to the overview. And you can see that's save recording, that's cancel recording. You have to be very careful where you click. I just wanted to mention that that was still a problem, even though it gives the correct size for my monitor. Removable media, of course, lets you control what to do when removable media are inserted. I don't have a graphics tablet, and I don't want to mess with the colors right now. Just a few other things I wanted to mention. Under Windows, I did activate the maximize and minimize buttons. You can see them here. They weren't there by default. If they're not there, you have to right-click on the top bar and choose minimize, unmaximize, etc. However, I like them, and I like them on the right. If I wanted to put them on the left, I could click here. They would be over here on the left. But I like them on the right. And I did a few other things on the top bar here. For instance, I've turned on the date. It wasn't there. There's no immediate way of changing this from the 24-hour clock to the AM/PM clock. It probably is some way. I haven't discovered it yet. So that's a look at the final release of Fedora 27 with GNOME 3.26 desktop. If you don't like GNOME, Fedora has several other spins, and I'll review at least some of those as time permits. This is XRAM Tech. Thanks for watching.